remove material from your knives and get them sharp.
Yes.
You know, I love my brother, Darren, but wherever I would go to, whether it's his house in Connecticut or his house in Vermont, the knives are always dull.
Okay.
So finally I got him a sharpener
that
a couple
was
years
nice.
ago. But honestly, it's from Milex.
Yep.
One of the easiest tools you will ever use. It's not confusing. It'll breathe new life into old knives.
Look at that new edge right
We are
there.
doing it for under $20 today. Wow.
Yeah, it's
Kelly.
crazy. Hi, so there's a reason I have it on the white paper, because as you start to sharpen, you'll see little, almost microscopic shards.
You got to take material off.
But you have to take material off, and I think it's really quite fun to watch it. So this is for all of your knives except the serrated knives. So all your knives, I wouldn't use ceramic either, but
you don't
everything
really need
else.
To sharpen serrated
you don't
knives.
need to sharpen serrated, but a couple of things that sets this apart from another traditional sharpener. Well, first of all, are you using one of these? These have to be used at the right angle or they will dull your knife.
The only people who know how to use that are like French chefs.
Right, or if you're using one of these, you can't adjust the angle and there's only the one slot. These are not very good to use either. So in walks Milex, and this one is fantastic. So you have the 3 different spaces, and we'll tell you what they all do. Plus you have for the scissors, plus Guy, you can adjust the angle. And if you have no idea at what angle your knife is supposed to be sharpened at, that's okay too. It has a guide. So for American knives, you're gonna do 20 degrees if they're in the kitchen. If they're sport knives, you're gonna go from 22 to 24 degrees. That's your sharpening angle, but it's listed right here. And there's also a cheat sheet down front. So it's on your knife, okay, specifically. And so now you know how to use it. So you're actually gonna go through all 3 slots for a dull knife. So this slot here is that tungsten carbide. It's that coarse grinding, what Guy was talking about, actually removes some of the knife material, but that's actually going to reshape your blade. The middle is our diamond slot. That's for fine grinding, okay? So that one is actually gonna hone it and remove some of those burrs, those teeny tiny microscopic burrs. And then this ceramic here is polishing. So it's gonna give you that smooth finish. If you're doing knives that are relatively sharp already, maybe you just purchased a set of knives, just use slot 2 and 3. But for most of us, what we're trying to do is extend the life of our dull knives, right? So do you have a drawer full of knives?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, who doesn't? Some of them expensive, some of them.
Yeah, some of them old that you don't use anymore.
Right,
but you won't throw them away.
But you don't have to throw them away. So you can see here on my sponge, this is an old sort of dull knife, okay? Like, it's not
terrible.
It's terrible. This is an old dull knife. Now, I might be cutting with this in my kitchen thinking it was okay, but the moment you get that inkling that your knives are not sharp, they probably are not, right? But if you didn't have the tool to sharpen it, then maybe you were using that dull knife and you all just heard that it was actually very dangerous, right, to have that dull knife. So you're just going to run the dull knife through each of these edges. Now this one is that tungsten carbide. It's a really, really rough, hard material. A dull knife, you're gonna go 6 to 8 passes, okay? So here we are, what is that, 6? We'll go 7, put a little bit of pressure, we'll go 8. And then there's that diamond slot. Now each of these angles can be adjusted. So for every knife that you have, you can adjust and get the perfect angle. So there we go, right through there. And then I'm gonna go to that fine honing one, that polishing one to sort of smooth the edge, right?
Get rid of all the burrs.
Get rid of all the burrs. And that's my chef's knife. Now you can already see the difference. You can see
it's shiny.
It's shiny. But now look at what went right through my,
crazy.
I mean, it goes right through your sponge. Now I was sawing on that sponge earlier, and now I'm just slicing right through the sponge, right? And that's what the difference is. Maybe this was a $30 knife 30 years ago. Guess what? There's still some life left in it.
Yeah, let me see it. Yeah, that's sharp.
It's sharp.
That's really sharp.
Yep.
And I love the fact, you know, listen, there's no magic where, oh, you're running through one time and you can slice paper. You got to go through about 5, 6, 7 times.
And you got to hear the squeak.
You got to hear
You
that.
got to hear the squeak.
Right.
Carlos taught me you have to hear the squeak, right? You want to hear some of that material. What you're doing is you're actually honing, you're grinding material off and you're sharpening the blade, giving it a brand new edge, as if it came out of the factory. Okay, so a dull knife, you use all 3 slots. A sharp knife that you're just trying to get that point back to it, you're gonna use the second 2 slots. Wow. There you go, Guy.
That's really sharp.
So you can see, and it's for all of your, not just culinary knives, so you can see I have my cleaver there that I was able to sharpen. But guess what? You can use it for sport knives too, for hunting knives, for scissors, all of the above.
Guys, this is $20 for a knife sharpener, and you saw how easy it is to use.
Yeah, it's super
I love
easy.
the dial. I've never seen one of those before.
So that's the big difference between a $20, knife sharpener that doesn't have the angle adjustment and this knife sharpener that does.
beautiful. By the way, here's kind of a close-up.
Here's the different
of what's
stages.
going on.
Yep.
And they use different material because the coarse tungsten, that's going to take the material off.
The middle, the middle is actually a diamond slot.
Yeah.
Now, most that have two do not have the third, right? So this is sort of the supreme knife sharpener that you're going to be able to find. I know, look at you, touching all my knife blades. They're all, well, these all need to be sharpened. Go for it. I got you your own very own sharpener. Yep. So here's what's great about it too. You can do sport knives, hunting knives. This is my husband's, it was his grandfather's pocket knife. And his grandfather would want him to use it. But for years, he's told me how dull this knife was. So I said, let's sharpen it. He didn't want to sharpen it. Now you can, because I have the right angle. So I can sharpen my husband's grandfather's pocket knife so that he can use it again. And for this one, I just went through those two. I adjusted it so that it was the sport. So you can actually see, as I adjust it, that angle switches. So when I did that pocket knife, I switched it to that sport angle, and I went through those secondary two, and you can see it just polishes it right up. And look how beautiful that is. That's over 100 years old. Oh, look what you're doing. That's exactly what I was gonna do.
Look at this.
With the
I just
grate.
sharpened this?
Yes.
And I'm not flattening the tomato?
Same here.
Look at this. I just took a tomato and I cut a cherry tomato into about 15 slices.
Same here.
That is
with a
razor
hunting
sharp.
knife, with a
Wow.
100-year-old blade. Isn't that fun?
Look at that. I can't get over it.
All right, so I want to do
I want
scissors.
one of these, no doubt.
I want one of the, I want to do the scissors. So a lot of us either have crafting.
Oh, it does scissors.
It does scissors,
Ooh.
yes. So it does all knives except ceramic, and then you're going to do your scissors, whether they're crafting scissors or just junk drawer scissors or even your culinary scissors, okay? It's a ceramic down here. You want to hear that grind. Can you hear that grind? So as I'm, it's cool, and you can actually hear it sort of grinding on that stainless steel blade, sharpening my scissors, bringing my $20 crafting scissors back to life. So, you know, one or two knives that you're not replacing, you're, you know, basically covering the cost of those scissors. And then you get scissors that are like, you know, when you first got those crafting scissors, where you could sort of just go, you know, up and it's just like, woo!
I am impressed. And you know, in kitchen, it takes a lot to impress me. I am like watching these tomatoes go.
Yep.
I mean, look at this. Guys, this is like, I mean, this is like butter now. Whereas before, you know, I was struggling a little bit. And you know, it's like I said, you don't have to apply pressure when you have a really good sharp knife. Problem is, you start with a sharp knife, and you know, realistically, it's not the food that dulls the knife, it's the cutting board. It's the cutting board.
Look at how thin. You're right, it's the cutting board. And it's also the knife sharpener that you think is getting your knife sharp is dulling it. If you're not hitting it at the right angle, it's actually dulling your knife. That's no good for an expensive knife or an inexpensive knife. And that's what's so phenomenal about this knife sharpener is that you can actually adjust the angle. So you saw me run my Sentoku blade right through here. I did a couple passes here, a couple passes here, a couple passes there. And then, you know, you can even have fun with it. Did you leave me a tomato or did you use all my tomatoes?
No, I got more for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and so.
No, I killed it. Here, use this one.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna do a little.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just drop it and it will slice into your tomato for you because you don't need the pressure because that's what you get when you have an unbelievably sharp blade.
By the way, you can buy this in red or you can buy it in black. And for a $20 bill, I mean, come on. I mean, this is one of those products everybody probably needs.
Yeah,
everybody.
you really do.
Be careful now.
Yeah, I'm being very careful, I promise. I don't want to get cut any more than you want me to get cut. Don't try this at home. I know I make people nervous, but don't try that at home. But that's to showcase that you don't need pressure. When you have a knife that has that really sharp edge, you don't need the pressure. And that's why we say a dull knife is a dangerous knife, because you're applying pressure. When you have that sharp knife, you could literally drop a tomato onto it and have it slice itself in half.
When you cut something this thin, if your knife is sharp, look, I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm not chopping. I am just allowing the knife blade, which I've sharpened, to do all the work. And then again, you could do things like that. Imagine if you're working on a regular sized tomato or cucumbers, you could do paper thin, but these are tools like anything else.
Yep.
That's a weapon.
So this is a tool as well. You just said tool. And so if anything that's on the smaller side in terms of lawn shears that will fit inside the blade, and we tested it earlier, you can, it was going to sharpen your outdoor lawn shears, right? Or your pruning shears. So I would just use that first and that second slot to go ahead and, readjust, regrind that blade, and then it actually will sharpen that middle piece as well.
That is, I thought the scissors was
You
impressive.
thought I was crazy when I started throwing tomatoes on the knife.
I can't believe you could do your tools as well.
You can do your outdoor tools as long as you can obviously open the blade and grind it through
I'm
here.
impressed.
So not just kitchen shears, not just crafting shears, pocket knives, hunting knives, fisherman's fillet knives, anything, and you can adjust it. And it tells you right up front, by the way, if you're just jumping in and you're like, well, how do I know what angle? These are the angles, and all you do is press down the wheel. You dial it up, and you can now sharpen pocket knives.
All right, I gotta get that.
Yep.
And I'm gonna get that sheet tray that we had before.
The what?
The sheet tray that Carrie had.
And you're gonna buy me the knives.
And I'm gonna buy you the knife.
Yeah.
All right, you get it all. Thank you, darling.
Thanks, guys.
Good to see you. $20. How many knives you got in your house, in your drawer that suck? And you just look at them, and you're like, oh my God, I gotta get rid of this.
So eloquently. How many knives do you have
you're
that
angry.
suck?
You buy a $50 knife, and then you never use it because you don't know how to sharpen it.
Yep.
And I don't blame you, because guess what? This is not easy to use. I know very few
You have
people
to
that
get
know
the
how
right
to use
angle
it.
or it dulls your knife. And
Well,
by the
yeah,
way,
and you have to have this treated as well from time to time.
You
People
do.
don't realize.
Yeah,
Anyway.
a lot of folks own our Cuisinart knives. It works on the Cuisinart knives as well.
All right, we are gonna take a break. I got Tracy Kane right over there, and she's got Anchor Hawking, which is the best storageware on the planet. Thanks, Kelly.
Bye.
Be right back.